Hi, thanks for joining. Okay, so here we are now for the final fourth video. This is Huck's Pop Culture Cafe Movie Challenge. This is a Desert Island Movies challenge in which he's posted a few videos to suggest that you're going to go to a desert island. You can take along some movies with you from your physical media collection. And there's 4 different challenges. I've posted the A to Z movies, I've posted the 25 actors, the 25 actresses, and now we're moving on to 25 directors. So it's the same thing. You cannot choose the same movie that you've chosen before. Yeah, I have seen some of other people's videos, so I've tried where possible just to sort of make some different choices, but for sure there's some films that I want to include as well that have already been chosen. But yeah, just a bit of fun, and let's see what you think. So once again, I'm going through my choices in no particular order. My sister, who doesn't own physical media, she's also just had a go for fun. So she sent me her list, and then I went through to see which titles I have in my collection, which ones I don't. So I'll go through her selections as well. But yeah, let's kick things off. And first up, maybe not necessarily a director that I would choose as one of my favorite directors, but I have to include this film as it is absolutely fantastic, and that is John Landis for An American Werewolf in London. Okay, next up, actually I've picked out one which isn't quite the version that I would take with me, but yeah, I've got to go with Francis Ford Coppola and Apocalypse Now. I've picked out Redux, but Redux is not quite the version that I like. I prefer either the original or his Final Cut version, but yeah, Apocalypse Now, superb film, Francis Ford Coppola. Next, the Maysles brothers, David and Albert Maysles, documentary filmmakers. They did things like Gimme Shelter and Grey Gardens, but I've got a series of films that they did for Jean-Claude and Christo, who are a couple who like to wrap things in fabric, which sounded unusual to me. Didn't think that that would be my kind of thing, but those films are just absolutely exceptional. And yeah, so I really love Christo in Paris, where they're wrapping the Pont Neuf Bridge in fabric. It's really fascinating, well worth watching. Next up, got to choose John Boorman. Quite a varied career. I mean, I love some of his more personal films, such as Hope and Glory, but this is a real standout. I have to choose Deliverance. Next up, Walter Hill. Chose him earlier in one of my other selections for The Great Streets of Fire. Absolutely love that film. But here for a Walter Hill selection, I have gone with The Driver. Next up, director Fred Zinnemann, another great director, things like From Here to Eternity. But yeah, this is absolute really tense classic that I love, and that is The Day of the Jackal. Next up, Steven Spielberg. How can I not have Spielberg? Really difficult to choose which one to take, but ultimately I have gone for Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Next, director Carol Reed, exceptional director, obviously did The Third Man. This one is slightly undervalued, underappreciated, but I don't know, in some circles. I mean, it is a classic. I think lots of people do love it as well. But yeah, Ralph Richardson in The Fallen Idol. Next, Clint Eastwood, fantastic as an actor, and he's directed a great many films as well. And again, a little bit of a hard one to choose, but I've decided to go for one of his earlier directorial films, still in the Western genre, and that is The Outlaw Josie Wales. Okay, next, how could I not have Hitchcock? And again, have chosen a few Hitchcock titles already related to the A to Z and actors and actresses. So this one's still left, funnily enough, and but it's an absolute classic, have to include it, and that is Psycho. Okay, next, Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger, who directed films such as The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp and Black Narcissus, but yeah, absolutely have to go for The Red Shoes. Next, I do love musicals, and this one is absolutely one of the finest, done by Stanley Donen. It's got that great barn sequence, which is so much fun, and it is Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. Next, for the colour, the melodrama, you've got to have a Douglas Sirk film, and my selection here would be All That Heaven Allows. Next, Terrence Malick. He made a few films, then had a great gap where he wasn't making films, and then he's gone for a number of films in more recent years which are very sort of fragmentary and ethereal, and yeah, quite a range to his work, but definitely I'm going back to one of his earlier films, and that is Badlands. Next, a female director, and I wish I had more of her films in my collection, but I don't. This is the only one I have. So I have gone with Celine Sciamma and Girlhood. Next, Damien Chazelle. Every one of his films so far for me has been pretty much a 10 out of 10. And yeah, I've already chosen First Man in my A to Z, but for here I'm going to go for La La Land. Next, Michael Mann. This is really tricky. I love Heat, I love Collateral, I love The Insider, which I think is an absolutely fantastic film. But ultimately, I've decided to go for The Last of the Mohicans. Next, John Carpenter. Actually, I find some of his films a bit, I'm not, a lover of all of his work, but for sure, he's got some absolute classics, and this one is certainly one of my all-time favorites, and that is The Thing. Next, a British director you don't hear talked about so much nowadays. I think I've already included Whistle Down the Wind in my actresses' choices, but here for my director choice I'm going to go with Brian Forbes and Seance on a Wet Afternoon. Next, director John Frankenheimer, who's done a broad range of films, many of which I love. I was tempted to go for Ronin, but I've gone back to one of his earlier classics, Burt Lancaster in The Train. Next, a director whose Northwest Frontier was the first film I saw in the cinema. Now that might make me seem much older than I actually am. I'm fairly old, I suppose, but Northwest Frontier was on a double bill with Digby, the biggest dog in the world. Yeah, I'm not choosing that film. The director though, J. Lee Thompson, and I've decided to go for a film which is not brilliant, but it is one that I like to keep coming back to, and that's Charles Bronson in The White Buffalo. Next, got to have Ridley Scott for sure, and what more can I say? It has to be Alien. Next, a director who's, I've chosen some of his other films throughout these last 3 videos, and I want to be saying more about him at a later point. But yeah, director John Gillerman, who's mostly known for films which have strong producers involved, so King Kong and Towering Inferno. But I've gone for his own personal favourite, a lesser known film, which is called Rapture. Next, going back to the silent movies, got to have some Charlie Chaplin. And for me, this is, I think, one of his best, and that is Modern Times. Next, I've already chosen a few David Lean films, but he's such an essential for me. I absolutely love David Lean films, and so, of course, and if I'm on a desert island, I've got plenty of time to watch it. Lawrence of Arabia. And then finally, for my ensemble pick, yep, I'm going back to John Gillerman, and because the ensemble pick, where you're meant to be just sort of choosing a film that features a whole host of actors and actresses, well, what better than The Towering Inferno? Okay, so now for my sister's choices. My sister likes to try and say that she's not really a cinephile. She doesn't really know that much about films. Rubbish, she knows a lot. But what she decided to do for the directors was just pick films that she knows that she really likes and then look up and see who the director was. Fine, that's a fair way of doing it. So yeah, she's come up with a really great list, and I'll go through first of all just the films which I don't have in my collection. So first up is she's selected Bryan Singer for Bohemian Rhapsody. She's gone with Joshua Logan, the director of Camelot and Paint Your Wagon, but she's gone for the Marilyn Monroe film Bus Stop. Yep, she's also gone for director Nora Ephron in Julie and Julia with Amy Adams and Meryl Streep. And then she's gone for a film, I don't know the director's work here. I did see this film advertised when I was on a trip to New York once, and the film is called Menache, and the director here is Joshua Weinstein. Another choice she's had, a good choice of film. I don't really know the director's body of work, but it's a good film for sure. The film is Pig. The director she has gone for is Michael Samosky. And she's also chosen a Celine Sciamma film, and like I say, because she hasn't got Fearless Core Media, she can just choose whatever she wants. So she's gone for the great one that's not in my collection, and that is Portrait of a Lady on Fire. She's also gone for director John Krasinski for A Quiet Place 2. That's because A Quiet Place has already been selected in one of the earlier videos. And another one I don't have in my collection, she's also gone for actor Bradley Cooper's turn as a director for A Star Is Born. Okay, and now for the ones that I do have in my collection. She has also gone for Ridley Scott in Alien. She's gone for Ang Lee for Eat, Drink, Man, Woman. One of my choices for actress, but she's gone for the director John Crowley for Brooklyn. Again, one of my choices for actress, but she's gone for director David Lean for Dr. Zhivago. She's gone for director Justin Lin for Fast 5. And sticking with the cars, she's gone for director James Mangold, Ford versus Ferrari. I chose Christian Bale as my actor for that one. She's chosen Adrian Lyne for Flashdance. And she's chosen Fernando Meirelles for City of God. Her Spielberg choice, a real favourite for most people, Jurassic Park. And musical choice, the great Vincente Minnelli, and she has chosen Meet Me in St. Louis. Next up, another Marilyn Monroe choice. She had Joshua Logan's Bus Stop earlier, but she's also going for director John Huston, The Misfits. Next up, this is a film that I had in my actor's choice, Casey Affleck, but she's gone for the director Kenneth Lonergan in Manchester by the Sea. Next, shame on me for not choosing Tarantino, but my sister has, and she's gone with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Next, one of still the #1 rated film on IMDb, and she's gone for Frank Darabont, The Shawshank Redemption. Next, Bernardo Bertolucci, and she's gone for the classic The Last Emperor. Next, she's gone for director Anthony Minghella, not The English Patient, not The Talented Mr. Ripley, instead one of his earlier films, Truly, Madly, Deeply. And then another female director choice, a good one here. She's gone for director Randa Haynes for Children of a Lesser God. And then finally for her ensemble pick, she went with a film that's got co-direction, Gene Kelly and Stanley Donen, and it's also got a bit of an all-star cast. She's gone for Singing in the Rain. Whew. Okay, so there we go. Now gone through all of the challenges that have been set by Hox Pop Culture Cafe for this Desert Island Challenge. Quite a good idea, I think. You know, imagine yourself on a desert island. You're taking all these movies. You can't choose the same movies for each type of challenge. Maybe you're on that island with some other people that have brought their movies along, and maybe you'll get to swap, or like me, might be a bit of an introvert and just stay in your own hut and watch them. Who knows? Nice to think we could maybe share some, but yeah. So that's the end of this challenge, and stay tuned. I will try and post some more videos, trying to get a bit more used to doing this YouTube stuff. I'm not there yet, but yeah, thanks for tuning in. Let me know what you think. Look out for other people who have done this same challenge. Like I say, some of those people include KB Loves Movies, Plaid Times 2, Convicted Cinephile, 20th and 21st Movies, Basement Blues, Mid-Level Media, Bob's Blu-rays, I think he's called, and a few others. Yeah, they're all out there. Go and see what they've done. I'm sure you've probably found their videos well before you found mine anyway. So yeah, but thanks for joining, and maybe see you again. Thanks, bye.